Good evening and thank you for joining us. This is News 360 from the News Hub here in Accra. I am Isa Morning. Glad to be coming your way tonight. Let's now take a chance and look at the headlines for tonight.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by...
In the headlines, overexploitation of mangroves along Ankobra estuary in the western region, threatening fisheries and livelihoods of inhabitants. And also, a former Deputy Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, calls for enactment of legislation to guide naming of public places and national monuments. And in Mission tonight, Mission gets results at NGO donates materials to Kupon Primary School in the Wild West District of the Upper West region. And on the international front, low turnout in Sierra Leone's runoff for presidential election. All right, we have details including sports and entertainment coming up this hour. Just stay with us. Remember, the news is also streaming live on 3news.com, TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and channel 279 on DSTV. Now let's turn away to our first story and beginning the news tonight. Mangroves play an essential role in West Africa's coastal fisheries, which can contribute about $400 million annually to the regional economy. However, overexploitation of mangroves along the Ankobra estuary in the western region is threatening fisheries and livelihoods of inhabitants. 115 hectares of the mangroves along the river has been degraded, exposing the river and other aquatic resources to climate conditions.
Throughout West Africa, the livelihoods of coastal populations depend heavily on access to natural resources. In spite of these important roles, mangroves are experiencing deforestation and are threatened ecosystem throughout the region. Mangroves are coastal forests that grow where ocean, freshwater and land meet. They provide wood and non-wood forest products, coastal protection and conservation of biological diversity. Mangroves are spawning grounds for a variety of fish and shellfish. Moving on the water under the mangroves, there is this canopy that have been formed by the mangroves, which gives such a serene atmosphere and environment that is very conducive and comfortable for relaxation. It is no wonder that experts say fishes spawn here and virtually reproduce. Therefore, its depletion becomes a threat for these natural resources.
When it's high tide, the seawater intrudes into the estuary. So these fishes come under the mangroves to rest. So if they are not there, that means these fishes do not have a maternity home to lay their eggs.
The mangroves provide huge economic benefits to indigents of Ankobra.
It gives perenkins and crabs also out of. And even if you come to our area, we use these mangroves for our burden. So it's very useful for us, and we use some for smoke the fish we get out of the Ankobra and the sea.
The area's mangroves have been under threat for some time now. The level of destruction is alarming. 115 hectares have been degraded. With a hectare about the size of a football pitch, one can only imagine the extent of damage caused. The Mangrove Restoration Project by the USAID Sustainable Fisheries Management Project through Henpoano has become an avenue to correct this.
They didn't know the seedlings of plants could be replanted. So when we came in, we sensitized them and then we educated them. We took them to the Volta region for a study tour. They went to learn, and now they are back and they are restoring areas where they have degraded.
18 hectares of the degraded mangrove forest have been restored. 25,000 seedlings have been planted so far, with additional 20,000 being nursed for planting. This has also provided employment to men and women in the community. Indigents are elated at the success story.
We get much streams over here, but past 5 years, we lost that one. But currently 2 years now, we saw some difference because of replanting of the mangroves. We got streams last 2 years, very huge over here. So we've seen difference.
The depletion and its consequences on fishing in the country will have dire socioeconomic consequences as well as ecological implications. It has become imperative that local authorities strategize to sustain this project.
We are working with the district assemblies to formulate bylaws, to regulate harvesting of this wood. Now, one of the approaches that we are encouraging is zoning, and we are working and advocating at the assembly level for this to be adopted in the land use plan.
The mangrove restoration project has enhanced the livelihoods of the people for the past 3 years. It is also adding on to the efforts by the country in rebuilding the depleted fish stock. But there is the need for local authorities to formulate bylaws and other regulations to regulate and manage the manner in which the resources are harvested as we fight to sustainably manage our fish stock. Catherine Frimpoma, TV3 News, and Cobra, Western Region.
Right, hope she brings us some special fish species from the mangroves. We will love that. News 360 is what you're watching right now. And limited focus on fisheries governance by journalists is impacting negatively on fisheries sector development. To reverse this trend, the media have been tasked to promote public education that would help mitigate the adverse effects of illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing, which cost Ghana over $600 million annually.
Globally, the economic loss from poor fisheries governance and management amount from $50 to $100 billion annually. As African fisheries sector continue to expand, there have been calls for robust policies to prevent resource degradation, rehabilitate overexploited stocks, and overall management of the sector. According to the Fisheries Commission, over $600 million a year is lost through illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing. Development partners have been supporting community-led initiatives to build sustainable fisheries management and safeguard resources. However, lots of work need to be done.
Monitoring, control and surveillance is a key pillar of any sustainable fisheries. I think unfortunately Ghana faces huge challenges in terms of human resources, in terms of funding, boats, the whole system. Now, that said, a lot of progress has been made.
Promoting a viable fisheries sector requires the support of the media, which wields the platform to create public awareness and demand accountability and responsiveness in the governance of the fisheries sector.
Without media accurately reporting and actively covering the issues of the fisheries sector, we're not going to see education, we're not going to see awareness, we're not going to see good dialogue, which is critical in any democracy.
Over 20 journalists from the 4 coastal regions in the country were given training in Takoradi by the USAID Sustainable Fisheries Management Project and its partners. Journalists were encouraged to take up fisheries as a specialized area.
It is through your reportage that the problems and challenges that thwarts or fights the development of the fishing sector will be brought to light. And it is through the same medium that the opportunities and success stories in the fishing industries will be sold to the world.
The journalists undertook field trips to Ankobra, Pra and Elmina on a study tour to acquire appreciable knowledge. Media houses are encouraged to consistently report and discuss themes that promote fisheries development.
Right, now let's talk about oyster picking in more aquatic news tonight. Poverty and lack of parental care continue to deprive children in the Adan East district of the Greater Accra region from accessing education. Some children have to work during school hours in order to raise money, while others are completely out of school. Now, Peter Kwada tells the story of 2 sisters who wake up at 3 a.m. thrice a week to engage in oyster picking after nearly 5 hours journey on foot.
It was a bright Thursday morning and the time was 7:45. The location was one of the landing beaches in Adafo in the Ada East district of the Greater Accra region. Among the handful of women actively engaged in oyster preparation are two sisters, 16-year-old junior high school Form 2 student Rebecca Sew and her sister Esther Sew, who is in primary 6. Curious about their look, we approached them. The eldest of the timid-looking sisters, Rebecca, would only open up after persistent questioning. My name is Rebecca Sew. I come from Toku, near Kase, and I am in Form 2, she says. We usually come to the landing beach here at Bongpokwanya to work in order to raise some money for school. She continued, both of our parents are traders but would not give details. Their journey starts at 3 a.m. on foot from Toku, near Kase. The nearly 5-hour journey ends here at the landing beach of Bongpokwanya, a suburb of Adafo. Rebecca and her sister Esther join other women to collect oysters for a fee ranging from 9 cedis and 15 cedis, depending on the size of the basket and the quality of oysters in it. At least 4 women handle a basket at a time, from shelling to picking off the entrails. Depending on the volume of work, Rebecca and Esther would have to set off around 4 p.m. back to Toku. They'll be arriving home at 8 p.m. with at least 20 cedis in their pockets. They're likely to return the next day or two for business. No wonder they hardly communicate in English. But Rebecca and Esther were not the only children out of school. Tens of children loiter about at Bongpokwanya landing beach and the community all day, and their parents have varying reasons for their absence from school. Some claim their wards were absent due to ill health, while others claim they're too young to enroll. However, our checks revealed most of the claims were not true. Teachers we spoke to blamed parents for their ward's absence from school. They insisted most parents prefer their ward stay at home to assist them in their businesses rather than allow them to go to school. So, what has happened to the free compulsory universal basic education rule, and when will we see its full implementation?
So from Bongpokwanya in oyster picking, let's come to Greater Accra region, Jamestown, where some underage children are involved in gambling, and some opinion leaders in Jamestown and its environs have expressed worry about the situation. They are saying that the growing spate of child gambling in the area is worrying. According to them, the act is promoting delinquency among school children. Now, Joyce Lee Wood was as young as 8 engaged in the act in the full glare of adults.
Gaming Act 2006 Act 721 prohibits persons below the age of 18 from gambling. Despite its illegality, opinion leaders in Jamestown say underage gambling is fast gaining grounds in the area. Here, operators display the machines in open places to entice children to gamble so as to make some money. Concerned parents say underage gambling exposes children to all sorts of vices and called on authorities to step up efforts to stop the menace.
Children in this area do not study because of gambling. They skip school in order to engage in the act.
Over the years, Gaming Commission has been criticized for its inability to enforce the law, as some school children spend hours gambling instead of studying. For now, the Commission must double up their efforts to create awareness on the dangers and illegality of underage gambling to safeguard the future of these vulnerable child gamblers.
Right, you're watching News 360, and now to other stories. And the Member of Parliament for Bolgatanga East and former Deputy Attorney General Dominic Ayine has called for the enactment of legislation to guide the naming of public places and national monuments. He spoke on TV3's News and Analysis and Current Affairs show.
What he has done now does not necessarily prevent a future president, you know, from renaming the facility, you know, and giving it a, I mean, that is giving it a different name. I don't know whether Flagstaff House has ever been declared as a monument, but if it has, then it means that under the National Museums Act, the minister for in charge of national museums will be the person, you know, to revoke the executive instrument, okay, by which Flagstaff House was named, you know,
that is if it was declared a national.
That is if it was declared a national monument.
Right.
And I believe that if what the president wanted to do was to say, okay, you know, the seat of government, you know, it's now Jubilee House. Okay, he could have also done it by an executive instrument. Okay. But again, that doesn't prevent a future president from revoking that executive instrument and naming the house, you know, naming the place, differently. We have to look at the possibility of probably either amending the Museums and Monuments Act or enacting a freestanding piece of legislation dealing with how we name and rename public buildings. It's an important exercise. And even street names, you know, by municipalities and, you know, metropolitan assemblies and so on and so forth. We need to have some guidance by way of legislation for such things so that it doesn't look as if we are always doing things in a haphazard manner.
And now, head of Political Science Department of the University of Ghana is urging Ghanaians to allow institutions to work. Dr. Bosman Eric Asare was speaking on New Day Saturday edition in the aftermath of the arrest of Kwaku Anyidoho over comments he made on an Accra-based radio station.
Depending on where you find yourself, you see, what they are doing is excellent. But when you are on the other side, there is a problem. So I think all of us acknowledge that we have some fundamental flaws in our system. We don't allow the institutions themselves to work. Maybe if you are in the world of politics, I know Dr. Ayini as a former Deputy Attorney General, government will have a program. Government has a certain frame. You want things to be done in a particular way, and at times you look at the law. Can we make some, operate within the law? But the onus lies on the politicians to say that enough is enough. It doesn't matter whether we are in charge or we are not the people in charge. And the bad thing for us is that the greater majority of our people believe that if even you get a job in Ghana, it's because you know A, B, C, and D. If even a party has come, you may be an NDC, you may be an MPP, but you may not even get someone who knows a senior person who may not even be working for the party. And these things are, as he said, they are realities in our society. So I think moving on, politicians must work very hard. So when you are there, make sure you do the right thing so that when you are not even there, the system will still.
And our lawyer for Kwaku Anyidoho, the embattled NDC Deputy General Secretary, Victor Adawudu, says they will listen to the recording of his interview and advise him appropriately. Lawyer Victor Adawudu also spoke on TV3 New Day Saturday edition.
Yes, he's been arrested. He could have been granted bail, although the law has given them that 48 hours
to do so, yes.
If everything is done within 5 hours, you could say, yes, we are investigating you. We are granting you bail, but we'll be watching you, or we are investigating. But to keep him and say, okay, after 48 hours to send him to court, that is where people get a little bit. I think no decent person within the society is saying that if the actual text that is brought would say that, Kwaku, you did not exceed the line. Everybody thinks that, yes, you want to communicate this, but we think this was in bad taste.
So in that situation, what would you advise him to do? Maybe it's a speculative
yeah, that's what I've said.
But what would you advise him to do then?
I would advise him, when the tape is brought from the sister radio station, and we analyze it, and we say that, look, this was inappropriate. We are human beings. We are fallible. We'll come and say that we think it was regrettable. But if we still feel that what we said, that was not the intention, but it's being twisted, we'll say, you know, we live in an era where tapes are doctored, things are edited, and some new words are put in it. So until we see it from the sister station and say, this is the statement, then we can speak to that.
Right, Koku Anyidoku has been released. Tempests have calmed down a little. You're watching News 360, which is streaming live on 3news.com and also live on channel 279 on DSTV. We will return shortly. Hello and welcome to tonight's edition of Mission on News 360, and Mission is supported by Star Ghana with funding from UKAID, Danida and the European Union. To begin with, the Kupon Primary School in the Wa East District of the Upper West Region is in a difficulty. Pupils there lie on their bellies to write. School authorities say several children are either dropping out of school or refusing to attend school due to inadequate furniture. Learning and teaching materials are also inadequate.
It is another day, and the children expect to be taught new things. School is exciting, and so many are happy.
Standing on the wall. Standing on the wall. One name Peter. One name Peter. One name Paul. One name Paul.
They have come from far and near. Some commute over 1 hour to school, and yet the joy of coming brings them here every day. The school feeding program is an attraction. Many come clutching what to them is life, but uncomfortably they have to endure what even adults will shudder at being made to go through. The children have to endure long hours of pain and agony. Teachers teach, but are uncomfortable themselves. Put up in 2011, the Kurupon Primary School was not lucky. The contractor did not provide furniture, leaving teachers with no option than to start school with kids sitting on the floor.
This is certainly not an ideal situation. About 70 of them crammed in this classroom here. Now, this is the formative stage, and this is where these kids are learning to write the alphabet. They need to perfect it in their build-up to primary 2, primary 3, and beyond. But here you can see them, they are compelled to lie, sometimes flat on their belly to write. A difficult situation education authorities are grappling with to fix the problem of furniture in basic schools in the district.
For 6 years, school officials have begged for furniture. From kindergarten 1 to 2 and on, every pupil is inconvenienced and have to learn the hard way. At the PTA level, efforts have been made to secure furniture.
We send it to the district assembly, and they said they will come and look at it. When the DC came there and see the situation we have here, but they said they are still on it.
School teachers have also used social media to help secure furniture, but all to no avail. The upper primary level is not spared. Furniture is few here. it is first come, first served. Coming to school early is therefore the only way to secure a seat for the day. Even the few here are under pressure.
Our first effort is at the school level, because at all our PTA and SMP meetings, we always ask them to look at the situation. They will come in, we'll take them through the classes for them to look at the situation of the people while they are sitting on the floor. And first effort is from them. Some of them started constructing furniture for themselves. Like if you look at the classroom, you see some of the furniture they have constructed. That's the first effort we have put in through the parents. Then the second effort, I think one time we made also efforts to make this public on the social media. We try putting some of these pictures on the social media for at least benevolent organizations to come into to support us. So in that one we have done that. And the office is the area we are trying to get support. I think we've written a number of letters to the GS office. We got a request for us to give the office the situation of our schools.
The Education Directorate is simply begging for a savior to provide furniture for these kids.
At the BEC level, we were second from the bottom in the National League table. And 2015, we went to 74th position. And the enrollment too has improved. Teacher situation has also improved a little. So there is a tremendous improvement in the education regards to academic work, staffing situation, and even community commitment towards supporting education in the district. And UNICEF is doing very well in this regard, and then Plan Ghana.
At the assembly level, motions are being moved to push for provision of furniture.
At the assembly level, thank God, myself and my assembly member, the current assemblyman here, we are always there. The SMC chairman is an assembly member. At the assembly level, we have made efforts by even making motions for the assembly to take portions of GET fund or common fund to at least construct furniture for these schools.
But funding is a challenge.
I realize that we still need more infrastructure for some communities. If we also go to the area of accommodation, you realize that most of the schools that we have in Wa East District, we don't have teachers accommodation. Teachers in such communities actually do suffer because those that are even closer to Wa will have to live in Wa and commute to the schools every day. So that actually sometimes can cut away some working hours.
The District Education Directorate says records indicate education is improving, but agrees that a lot more is needed by way of infrastructure, teachers, and teaching and learning materials to see a complete transformation. Bright Nanafo, TV3.
Well, so there is some good news for Kulpong Primary School. Global Impact Development Alliance, Ghana, a local NGO in the Upper West region, has responded to the needs of Kulpong Primary School in the Wa East District by donating teaching and learning materials. Their intervention came after TV3's Mission Ghana report by Bright Nana Amfo, which highlighted the developmental needs of the school.
TV3, in an earlier report by Bright Nanamfo at the Kulpong DA Primary School, highlighted the deplorable condition under which teaching and learning took place. Lack of classroom block, lack of furniture, inadequate teaching and learning materials were among some of the challenges confronting both teachers and pupils. This attracted Global Impact Development Alliance to donate some items to the school. The items include books for writing, pens and pencils, some hand-washing containers, and a wall clock for the staff. The chief of Kulpong, Na Abu Salia Bafaradu II, was grateful to Global Impact Development Alliance Ghana for their support. He thanked TV3 Mission and Bright Nanamfo for the report on the plight of the school.
We are so grateful to TV3 for having somebody whose name is Bright. And he's gone around all the dark corners of this nation and is brightening those corners through TV3. We are so grateful, and we think that with God's grace, TV3 will continue to shine.
The head teacher of the school, Nuruddin Suglo, was happy for the donation but called on other organizations and government for support.
The students, they don't have furnitures in the school which will help them to sit well and be writing. And I still need the support from any NGO who will hear our cry.
A Class 6 pupil, Kumbadi Charles, also told TV3 that the books will help in their education. The acting chief executive officer of Global Impact Development Alliance, Ghana, Yahya Fawood, said they will also embark on programs to supply farm input to farmers and entrepreneurship training to the vulnerable and school dropouts. Meanwhile, the Kurukman Primary School was adjudged the best healthy school environment for 2017 in the Upper West region.
And that's it for this edition of Mission. Remember, Mission is supported by Star Ghana with funding from UKAID, Danida, and the European Union. News 360 will continue shortly. Hello again, let's continue with some more stories. And tension is mounting between residents of Nkonya and Alavanyo following the disappearance of a 37-year-old man, David Adai, from Nkonya. David was reported missing during a hunting expedition on Friday, March 23. Meanwhile, leadership of the two communities are blaming their perennial dispute on the failure of state agencies to act decisively.
Efforts at ensuring lasting peace between the people of Nkonya and Alavanyo is yet to yield the desired results. Like all previous attempts, the Volta Regional Peace Council's initiative appeared to be gaining favor with a cross-section of the people. Yet, a few faceless people are still keen to frustrating the process. It was first the case of a 62-year-old George Akoli from Saviefe, who is yet to be located after reported missing during the Sasadu Festival hosted by Alavanyo Peme in November 2017. The people of Alavanyo immediately linked the incident to Nkonya. They claimed the victim, George Akoli's phone, was used by one Lucifer from Nkonya to call his relative, indicating the victim had been abducted in Nkonya. It took the intervention from the Volta Regional Peace Council and other well-wishers to calm tempers. Unfortunately, peace was sustained for only 4 months. In what many would consider as tit for tat, an Nkonya man is reported missing. The victim, 37-year-old David Adai, reportedly went on a hunting expedition in the Nkonya forest together with 6 others on March 23, but failed to return. David's fiancée later that evening received a call when an unidentified voice told her David had been captured in the bush. The Volta Regional Police has confirmed the incident and has commenced investigations. This has dealt a big blow to the ongoing peace process by the Volta Regional Peace Council.
All that we have been saying all this year is your cooperation. Whatever we have, if there is no cooperation from both sides, nothing can be achieved. So we are asking for your cooperation.
But the two communities are blaming the state for their woes.
Failure to uphold this truth remains our biggest challenge in this struggle. My linguist, who was the liaison between us and Nkonya, on his way from a journey in 2003, never reached home and nothing has been done about it to date. These are some of the issues that beat our imagination.
We have a boundary with Bori, we have a boundary with Central Kofi, we have a boundary with Akbavo, we have a boundary with B, and we have a boundary with Pando. We have not been fighting. Why is it that only Nkonya and Alavanyo? It is because somebody is trying to cheat, and people are quiet about it. That is why.
To ensure lasting and enduring peace between Nkonya and Alavanyo, the state must act now and swiftly.
Right, now let's talk about Easter holidays, because this is the period we find ourselves in at the moment, and these holidays are expected to be marked with pomp and pageantry by thousands of revelers. But what ought to be done to keep safe while having fun? Now joining us on Skype is Nanayawa Akwada. He is the Executive Director of the Bureau of Public Safety, and he is joining us on Skype right now. Nanayawa, good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
Right, I can see you're beaming with smiles on Skype tonight. But you know, these Easter holidays have been going on for some time. I don't remember anything special being done for revelers, people who would want to go to the beaches and have fun and enjoy themselves whilst they are alive, at least. So what kind of precautionary measures would you be expecting to be put there for us?
Well, thank you. It is very important that we share some tidbits with the public. Yeah. But before I do that tidbits, let me just run us through some statistics that the Bureau has gathered, over the last, since 2015. Most probably we will be making this public in the coming months. Data that we have gathered across the 10 regions indicates that 3 top public safety issues in this country remain violent crime, transport-related incidents, and what we have termed general. Violent crime, if you study the data from sometime between October, November, December, the statistics keeps going up. Even in this year, we have realized that it cuts across all the 10 regions. Violent crime is always sitting at the top. And so during this Easter, it's important that people are mindful of, they have a certain awareness around them, because chances are that this is the time that armed robbers will be going, petty robbers who will also be plying their trade, and armed attacks are also will be strengthened to do what they have to do. It is true that the Ghana Police Service has assured the public that they've put in well over 10,000 police officers. But hey, in these times, and when also we have sexual assaults, all these coming under violent crime like rape, gang rape, and so on and so forth, street fights and things. And so it's important that people will be aware of their surroundings and know how to avoid and scheme their ways around these. They can, as it were, we've always been advised by our grandmothers that we just take what we need when we are going out, and also when we are out there having fun. It's important that we do not flash too much cash. We should just, whatever we have, we must be as discreet as possible. If we have to use the ATMs, we are advised to use it under broad daylight or in a well-lighted environment. Know who is following you at all times. And it's also key to note that transport-related incidents too, around this time also is on the high side, because people are taking alcohol, people are in a rush to get to parties and gatherings and so on, and people are not considerate on the road. So we must also drive with all caution. And then I fall on the general incidents. These are times that people peddle lots of drugs. Also, you go to these holiday areas or places of pleasure. There are not many signals and many signages alerting people of potential disasters and hazards in those places. So, yes, while we advise revelers to be mindful of some of these things within places where they are having fun, we also want to caution.
Right, Nanayawa Akwada, we seem not to have too much time on our hands to talk to. We're grateful for the timely advice. Hope you will also take the cautions yourself to families who are going out with their children. Also take some measures and protect the family. You're watching News 360. We'll return shortly.
Hello, good evening. It's sports time here on News 360. My name is Yao Ofosu. Labbing on to our very first story. The 100% record by league leaders Ashanti Gold has been put to a halt by Bechem United after a match day 4 encounter at the Baba Yara Stadium. Now, Emmanuel Owusu-Boakye's goal in the 19th minute of the game for Bechem United was cancelled out by Amos Adai's goal in the 36th minutes of the first half of the game. Now, Ashanti Gold are still winless in 5 visits to Bechem United in the Premiership, with all of them ending in drawn games. So that's from the camp of Bechem United and Ashanti Gold. That game was played at the Baba Yara Stadium today. But off now to the other game that was played at the Baba Yara Stadium this evening. Elmina Sharks taking on Wafa, and Sharks led 2-0 before the lights went off at the Baba Yara Stadium. So we do not know what the confirmation will be, whether the lights will come back for the game to continue or whether the game will be stopped and repeated on another day. But tomorrow there will be Karela against the Buswadras Football Club. Wa All Stars will welcome Brekum Chelsea to the Wa Park for a thrilling encounter. Asante Kotoko will be at home tomorrow against 11 Wonders Football Club, who have impressed immensely in the Ghana Premier League this season. Now, Ediana Stars will also take on Inter Allies. Keniti Yatsuhashi's side are going to the Nana Ajimabedu Park in Doma. Also, Hearts of Oak will take on Dreams FC at the Cape Coast Stadium, and then Liberty Professionals will welcome Mediama SC to the Dansoman Karl Reindorf Park. Off now to more news. And the Black Queens began their first training in Nagasaki ahead of their friendly game against Japan to be played at the Nagasaki Stadium on Sunday, the 1st of April. The Queens arrived in Japan last night to honor the friendly game and have already gone through their training session with coach Mercy Tego to sharpen themselves ahead of tomorrow's game. Ghana are using the friendly to sharpen their skills for the 2018 Women's African Cup of Nations this November, and which they are hosting in Ghana, the 13th edition of the Women's African Cup of Nations. Now, in October last year, in the Black Queens' last friendly, they played against France and were beaten by 8-0. Right, to our next story, and the National Women's League is set to start on April the 7th, and clubs are preparing themselves for the season, and for the first time in history, the Women's League will run with a headline sponsor. Now, the league clubs think it is time to brand themselves well to attract more sponsorship for the women's game. My colleague Nana Ekuamankwa takes a look at how teams in the Women's League are branding themselves ahead of the season. The team league has enjoyed very little publicity and financial injection since its inception, but that is all set to change after GN Bank decided to sponsor the Women's League. The Women's FA Cup, though, is sponsored by the bankroller of Lady Strikers Football Club, Sanford World Clinic. Most female football clubs in the National Women League, Lady Strikers, Samira Ladies, Soccer Intellectuals and Pim Dakwan, this year have all changed their ways by going into proper branding of the girls and the team. New signing unveiling, photo shoots, new jerseys, proper training kits and social media interaction with the public. According to President of Lady Strikers, Dr. Kojo Taylor, these improvements will help teams attract sponsorship for themselves and for the league.
Women's football still in the country is treated second to the men's football. And I'm of the opinion that should not be the case. As a result of that, we continue to give it every opportunity to elevate women's football. And we think we are succeeding in doing that. The quality of teams that are now participating and competing is really very exciting because it has improved tremendously. And I'm really looking forward for the opportunity to see some of these teams play. That it's worth the investment of time in the women's football promotion. And then I see the immigration, the police are now using their strong asset, and that is the recruiting tool to bring on some experienced players. And then we think that all means that a little more attention has got into the sector.
Right, so that story there was by my colleague Nana Ekuamankwa. But off now to the English Premier League now. And on our screen, the scores for today's games. Crystal Palace losing to Liverpool by 2-1. And Mohamed Salah getting the goal there in the final minutes of the game for Liverpool to have that 2-1 win. Now, crucially, it is Mohamed Salah's 29th goal of the season. Mohamed Salah has now equaled Didier Drogba's record as the highest scoring African in an EPL season. That's Mohamed Salah's record there. And Mohamed Salah is just 4 goals away from equaling the best goal tally tally of any player in an English Premier League season, and that's Alan Shearer, who got it some many years ago. Leicester City also beat Brighton and Hove Albion by 2-0. Jamie Vardy among the scorers there. Man United also beat Swansea by 2-0. Romelu Lukaku got his 100th goal in the English Premier League football. Also, Newcastle United against Huddersfield Town ended 1-0. Ayoze Perez getting the goal. Watford against Bournemouth also ended 2-2. Manchester City, on the other hand, they also beat Manchester City also beat Everton by 3-1. West Ham defeated Southampton by 3-0. And Burnley defeated West Bromwich Albion by 2-1. Now, next week, Manchester City have a chance of winning the English Premier League trophy if they are able to beat their opponents in there. So that's how the English Premier League is set up at the moment. My name is Yao Ofosu Labian. Thanks for joining us for sports. Up next is international news.
In international news tonight, we begin in Pakistan, where Nobel Prize winner Malala Yousafzai has returned to her hometown for the first time since she was shot there by the Taliban. Ms. Yousafzai, who now lives in the UK, was shot in the head for campaigning for female education in 2012. Her family's home region of Swat was once a militant stronghold, and she was attacked on a school bus there at 15. Now let's get to the phone line, and straight we go to Sierra Leone for the presidential runoff, and we're speaking to Fabian, our correspondent. Fabian, good evening to you. We understand that there was a lone turnout in today's election. What more can you tell us about that, including security precautions?
Yes, today there seemed to be a very low turnout in the voters that showed up to vote, lower than March 7 itself. But so far, security-wise, there were issues here and there. There were some isolated issues in parts of the place where some issues were reported. So that has been... Hello?
Well,
hello?
Yeah, Fabian, we can hear you. Can you go on, please?
Yes. So the police say they're investigating some of those issues, which are still, there were isolated instances of one vehicle that was overspeeding at Lumley, and they tried to stop the vehicle. It did not stop. So they had to fire shots at the tires to stop the vehicle. Eventually it stopped. Some arrests were made with some materials in it. So the investigation is ongoing.
Thank you very much, Fabian. Fabian Swell is our correspondent in Sierra Leone. Well, she brought an update on the presidential, runoff. We have entertainment news coming up next. Stay with us.
Welcome back to News 360. It's now time for us to find out what's trending in the world of entertainment. My name is Solace Rose Corte, and the Easter fever is everywhere. Now, stay safe, don't drink and drive, be measured in your celebrations. Now, those are the wishes of your favorite celebrities as the world observes the Easter festivities.
They causing confusion, and so my baby forgetting my yes. What's up with your boy Kwame Unike? I'm a rock star, and this Easter, I just want to tell you guys, be safe, take good care of yourself, go worship God, bless someone, give to the needy, and have fun.
Very good. All the Ghana people, Satan have come to the earth to cause something. Kwame Unike call him. He causing confusion. He causing that time. All the people saying about the bush. But that's why God sent Jesus Christ to come and die for my sins and die for your sins. He have come to die. You two, what are you sitting down to do? Go to church and go and please the God. What about that? So please, Merry happy Easter to all the people in the Ghana, and God bless you, okay?
In the cross, it's red.
Yo, I want to say big ups, y'all, man. We thank God we are alive. You already know KECHE in the building. Any Easter message?
Charlie, stay safe, you know. I know you'll be chilling out there, you driving, take it easy on the road. Charlie, we need you alive, yeah. So have fun, stay with the family, and let's go. We want to see you. Happy Easter to everybody.
Hi everyone, and wishing you a happy Easter. Make sure to stay safe. Don't text and drive. Don't drink and drive. Stay safe, and make sure you also acknowledge the day because it's about Jesus, and have fun as well.
They should continue to spread love, support one another. Hey, I they speak English? No. Cut them. My message be saying, make them get love for one another. One human being to another human being. Make we stop to the talk. Now today talk. Now today spoil paying. Yes, spread love. Let love lead.
Hey, what's up? It's your boy Kim Promise. I want to wish Ghanaians and everyone who loves my music, everyone else, a very, very happy holidays. Enjoy yourselves. Don't drink and drive. Stay safe, and let's celebrate Christ. One love, Kim Promise.
Indeed, Christmas, Easter is all about celebrating Christ. And the Fantasy Dome came alive as thousands of people thronged the venue on Good Friday for the annual Harvest Praise Festival. Naphtali Ban has the details of the event.
Over the years, Harvest Praise has drawn thousands to praise and worship their Maker. Harvest Praise 2018 was headlined by American gospel art Anthony Brown. When he took the stage, the audience were lit up. How does he feel performing in Ghana for the first time?
The energy was electric, the people were praising God. It just felt so amazing to be in there. To all my friends in Ghana, my new family in Ghana, this is the first time I was here, but it won't be the last. I love you until we meet again.
Other artists included veteran gospel musician Yao Sapon, Reverend Edwin Datsin, and Nsempi hitmaker Koda. The audience could not help but to be on their feet and sing along as Koda sang in glory of God.
There's grace for every platform, and I believe that's what God wanted us to do tonight, so there was grace for it.
Organizers of the events were pleased with turnout.
I think it's been awesome. We give all the glory to God. We can only thank Him and expect greater things in the years ahead.
Well, definitely, if you missed that, it's unfortunate. But maybe you can go to church tomorrow and make up for that. And that's how we wrap up entertainment news here on News 360. My name is Solis Rose Quarte. Isa.
I'm Isa Moni. We'll also take a look at the high points of the news tonight before we finally wrap up. And efforts are underway to reclaim destroyed mangroves along the Ankobra estuary in the western region. Thanks for watching. I'm Isa Moni. Enjoy the rest of your evening.